So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a decade of Athens Democracy Forum, which the Democracy and Culture Foundation convenes with the New York Times, in association with the New York Times. And we are certainly grateful for our main stakeholders, the United Nations Democracy Fund, Kofi Annan Foundation, and the City of Athens. So the Athens Democracy Forum is marking its 10th anniversary this year. And while the forum may be in a position to celebrate, democracy cannot. So let's go back 10 years for a very short while. So when the first ADF was convened, whatever problems democracy was encountering seemed to be offset by good news from many corners of the world. The United States was about to re-elect its first black president. The Arab Spring seemed to confirm that people's craving for freedom and democracy could drive out dictatorial strongmen. China's communists picked a new leader, Xi Jinping, who promised to wipe out corruption. Poland's capable Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, was about to become president of the European Union. So how much can really change in a decade? Mr. Obama was followed in the White House by Donald Trump, and American democracy remains massively polarized and battered. The Arab Spring descended into wars. Xi became an all-powerful dictator. Poland has slid backwards under a nationalist government. And now Russia has ignited this senseless war in Ukraine and a crisis of global proportions. Well, there are counterexamples to be sure, and including Greece, our host country, which was sunk into deep depression a decade ago and turned to a populist government in despair. Today, the worst seems to be over. The debt crisis is definitely over in Greece, and democracy seems to be back on track. Elsewhere, there are very clear examples of fundamental change. The city of Paris, for example, has a standing citizens' assembly, and Chile will be voting on the proposals of a citizen-led constitutional convention. Overall, there seems to be two trends emerging at the same time. The first one, democracies are in dire trouble. But secondly, an exciting renewal is also taking place. At this year's forum, through a program so well crafted by our editorial director, Kim Conniff-Tabor, whose many thoughts I'm sharing here. So Kim, I want to thank you, and through you to thank all our speakers that have gathered all in person this year in Athens, and of course Serge Schmemann, who crafted the first program 10 years ago. So ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for Kim, Serge, and our speakers. So at this year's forum, we will try to learn what went wrong, and most importantly, what it is that we can do about it. So were we wrong in our presumptions about liberal democracy and what it requires? Are there ever-changing forces of global finance, technology, and the climate, disaster, and illiberal politics generating challenges that traditional democratic tools cannot counter? Our task in Athens is to explore the innovative approaches needed to overcome these hurdles. So our sessions are split in three strands. Firstly, we are having case studies of countries that I just mentioned before, analyzing the future of specific regions and issues. Secondly, we have panels rethinking the futures in our programmatic pillars of technology, climate, and business. And thirdly, all this will alternate with tutorials and workshops on emerging democratic practices and methods. probably my favorite part of the program. So we have a diverse group of the brightest and often the youngest, as you saw yesterday and you see today, the brightest minds in academia, politics, business, and civil society, our speakers, moderated by our talented journalists, led by our host, Roger Cohen, that will help us come up with a prescription for a new breed of democracy. Our team at the Democracy and Culture Foundation, who is now the organizer of this forum, have embarked on a series of projects devoted on these programmatic pillars, seeking to turn your solutions into action based on our impact chain, think, talk, do. And we want to do this with very much a bottom-up approach, engaging citizens and especially our youth and our teenagers. It is a journey into deliberative democracy. But above all, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all of you, our delegates, both in person and virtually, for engaging with our forum and our foundation in our quest to make things happen, to change the world by helping democracy evolve, empowering society through citizen engagement and better governance. So please engage during these 3 days and interact with our speakers and with each other and on our social media channels so we can get the word out there. We are honored to have so many supporters this year, so we thank Meta, and Meta have a great virtual reality demo outside, so please join that during the day. We thank our other headline sponsor, Taipei Academy from South Korea, who are sponsoring and supporting an important symposium today. And our gold sponsors, Luminate and Microsoft, and all our other sponsors, EBRD, Council of Europe, Lambda Development, Numismatica, Libra Group, GNTO, and so many other partners like McKinsey, the Berggruen Institute, Global Liberal Arts Alliance, and so many that you can see on the screen here, including Aegean, Grand Bretagne, so many of them. So please join me in thanking all our sponsors for their generous support. Because let's be clear about this, it is with sponsors that this forum extends far beyond this room. And one way through the special report in the newspapers that are here today, you saw some of them yesterday, and that importantly, that will be published next Friday, October 7, in the International New York Times, on October 7, as I said, distributed in more than 160 countries, reporting on what actually we will be achieving in Athens over the next few days. So as I leave you, I guess you all know that I've been reflecting on the 10 years. This is the 10th time that I'm welcoming. So I wanted to share with you 3 things that I've learned in these 10 years. I've learned much more than that. I still don't need glasses with this huge font, so that's a good sign. But here is what I've learned, that we cannot export democracy. As Kishore Mahbubani said, democracy needs to be imported. There is a certain arrogance in the West that we heard from Jeffrey Sachs last night, and it's time for us to listen to other points of view, to other civilizations. Hence, the Socrates-Confucius dialogue that we've started. The second thing I've learned is that better governance can only happen with citizen engagement. It cannot exist without the citizen. Hence, our Building Blocks project and deliberative democracy. And the third thing I've learned is that democracy, ladies and gentlemen, is culture. Hence, the establishment of the Democracy and Culture Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, really thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us for the 10 years and for the next 10 years that come. I now invite Claudia Swalich, the founder of Democracy Next, to deliver this year's opening provocation. She will be followed by our Chief Diplomatic Correspondent, Stephen Erlanger, who will get us started with the case studies. So Claudia, over to you. And ladies and gentlemen, before I go, use your headphones. You're getting much better quality of sound through this because of the echo. So Claudia, without further ado, over to you.